Hello, everybody. This is Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we are back at the archive today. And this might be what it is. We might do it on a day-by-day basis based on what's happening with my schedule and also what's happening at the archive. If there's work at the archive that's being done renovation-wise, then it might be too noisy to do it here, or there might not be power, or any number of things. And so there is this iMac that I've been using to stream, which is over here. And we're just going to flip it off because it is being a giant pain in the butt. I've changed the OS on it because it was acting very slow. And my gut is like, no, wait, maybe I should go back because it's still not working. And now it's not recognizing the scanner. So I have my laptop, which is what I've been streaming from when I'm at my house. And so there's this cockamamie wire situation here. And this is what we do at AV Geeks, is sometimes we watch 16mm films. Sometimes we watch Skip complain about his technology. That's part of the deal. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had some awesome hot dogs on Friday, so I hope you didn't mind the hot dog barrage of information from a variety of different sources too. Some were not actually from 16mm. Some of them were actually from 35mm intermission snipes. Okay, so what do we got? Taking the Air. Enjoy.
Today, aviation speeds our defense, aids our business. In hundreds of different ways, man has taken the air. Great progress has been made in the conquest of the skies in the past 30 years. Back in the year 1910, 50 miles an hour was about tops. Wherever it went, this flying barn door had a regular built-in headwind. It dragged along tons of air. Even in 1920, planes could barely do 100 miles an hour because they just weren't streamlined. Early plane designers should have paid more attention to an Englishman named Horatio Phillips. As long ago as the 90s, Phillips had a contraption that was really an early version of a wind tunnel, and with it he learned something about streamlining. As the current passed around this blunt-nosed block, it swirled and eddied, agitating the feather and showing Mr. Phillips what happened to the air. Finding that the air was much disturbed by its passage around the square block, Mr. Phillips experimented with many others. This one had a curved surface, and the air flowed smoothly around this object because there was very little resistance. Mr. Phillips had discovered the basic principle of streamlining, which is simply shaping lines so the air can pass over smoothly without too much resistance. But somehow nobody thought this was very important at the time. Mr. Phillips was forgotten until years later we wanted to make our planes go faster. Then began scientific research to learn the secrets of air in motion. Man-made cyclones shriek through modern wind tunnels at speeds as high as 760 miles per hour, even faster than the speed of sound. The brainchild of Horatio Phillips has come of age at last, in this age of wings. With these instruments, engineers observe the action of the wind on a model suspended in the tunnel. Down, 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 spinning to the earth. Will the wings crumple when the plane pulls out of the dive? No, because in vertical wind tunnels like this, models are first tried out under conditions simulating those met when a full-size plane is in a real dive. And today, in gigantic wind tunnels like this one at America's famed Langley Field, full-size planes are tested. A veritable tornado comes out of that immense tunnel, forcing tremendous pressure against the plane. To stir up a hurricane in that monster, it takes 8,000 horsepower. As a result of this unending research, American-designed and American-built planes are today the envy of the world. Ultra-streamlined beauties which slip through the air at better than 400 miles an hour. Engineers found that the same principles of streamlining could be applied to craft moving through the water. So today the hulls of seaplanes are designed from tests made in this artificial river. The huge framework above the water is a rolling carriage which will tow this model hull at speeds equivalent to 80 miles an hour. Hang on as we go with the engineers for a test. And the result of months and years of experiment, transoceanic planes that carry heavy loads, thanks to streamlining. The same methods have helped perfect the fast new Navy mosquito boats. Roaring over the waves at 57 miles per hour, Uncle Sam's newest weapon packs a mighty sting, streamlined for both air and water. Now what about streamlining on land? Automotive engineers have been busy too. And today, with a new method of photography, they are able to study the motion of the air around a moving object. A stream of air will be blown against this block. We will be able to see what happens to the air just as if the block were moving ahead. Hitting the front of the block, the air meets a lot of resistance, as in the old-fashioned automobile, which was shaped something like this. Resistance wasn't much less when cars of a few years ago were shaped like this block. But the engineers kept on improving, rounding off sharp corners and slanting flat surfaces, until today, the contour of the modern automobile follows a design which is the result of many experiments. Here is the streamlined shape of our most modern automobile, designed so that the air streams by in a smooth, easy line, which is the basis of all streamlining. Thus, resistance is lowered, speed and safety increased. Let's take this car out on the road for some practical tests of streamlining. Those ribbons are floating easily across the top of the car because of streamlining. This experiment shows that there's no bubbling or confusion of the air, just a smooth, gliding stream. Let's try another test. This affair is a hydraulic jack, arranged so it will open the doors of the car and hold them open when it's traveling at a fair cruising speed. This gauge will tell us how many pounds of pressure we're up against. Now let's go for a ride. We'll sit in back and keep out of the way of that gadget. Say, they've even got the inside streamlined. The front doors will be closed at the start, and then the hydraulic jack will open them. Well, we're getting up to a nice road speed. Now, let's see what will happen if we open those doors. Watch this. There go the doors, opening slowly against the tremendous pressure of the onrushing air. They're only partly open, but the pressure goes up, and it takes more gas to hold our speed at 50. Here's something you'll never see on the road. Doors wide open at 50 miles an hour, and it takes a wide open throttle to fight against that pressure. 200 pounds of pressure, and using twice as much gas to keep that speedometer up there. Now see what's happening to those ribbons. The resistance of the door makes the air churn around in eddies, causing drag. This experiment shows the terrific pressure the engineers had to overcome, and did, by streamlining. The modern car, streamlined as it is, meets little resistance. Air currents can slip over the rounded contours, and that makes for greater safety. Automobiles of today are faster, safer, and more economical to operate. Designers and engineers have spent years of testing, years of finding out about the air and what it does. So on land, water, and in the air, America has been streamlined. America takes the air.
Thank you, Jam Handy. You think it's about something, and then it's always about the Chevrolet. That's the deal. All right, so behind me, I have a film scanner set up, and oh boy, what a pain it was. But it feels like it's built on a house of sticks that it's all going to collapse at some point. But we're going to go for it. So what do we got here? Beep, 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 beep. All right, down at the bottom. Why isn't that showing up? Oh, okay. Anyways, here we go. Enjoy. Basic needs, shelters.
My trip to Earth was very interesting. I learned about lots of things. I learned about food. I learned about clothing. And I learned about shelter.
Food, clothing, and shelter? We don't need those things.
But people on Earth do. That's why they're called the basic needs.
Well, tell me about your trip to Earth and about that basic need, shelter. That's called shelter, right?
That's right. It's a house. A house is one kind of shelter, a place where people live. People on Earth live in all kinds of places.
Why do people on Earth need a place to live?
Well, they need it for several reasons. One is for protection from the weather. The walls and roof of a house, for instance, protect the people who live there from wind and rain and snow. People on Earth need protection from the weather, and they don't want to be bothered by animals that live outdoors. And another reason is that people on Earth like to have places of their own where they can be by themselves or just with their families. A place where they belong, where they feel safe and comfortable. Shelter is a basic need.
And this shelter that Earth people need? I suppose it grows right there on the land where they want to live.
Oh no, shelter has to be made. A house, for instance, is made of a lot of parts.
Well then, I guess it's the parts that must grow there, right?
No, all the parts that a house is made of come from somewhere else. Some parts are made, and some grow. For instance, most houses need boards. Boards are made of wood, and wood comes from trees. Now, trees do grow. Trees are living things. But people have to do many things to the trees before they can be used to build a house.
Like what, for instance?
Well, trees have to be cut down.
Are they big?
They're the biggest living things on Earth. Then people have to get the trees to places called lumber mills. At the lumber mills, people run the machines that take the bark off the tree trunks. And they run machines that saw them into boards. Then other people have to take the wooden boards away from the mills to where people who need the wood can buy it. And that's just the beginning. Then the wood is carried in trucks and trains. Some of it even travels in ships. One of the places the boards go to is called a lumber yard. People there help other people buy different kinds of wood that they can use for building houses and all kinds of other shelters. Now, wood comes from things that grow.
Yes, you told me.
But all things that houses are built from don't grow. Bricks, for instance, they have to be made. People have to make them.
How do they do that?
Well, they have to mix the materials together to make the bricks. Then people have to load them into trucks and trains so they can be taken to where they'll be used to build a house or other kind of shelter. Like bricks, most of the parts of a house have to be made, like the pipes, and the wires, and the plasterboards, and the paint.
And when all the parts of a house or any other kind of shelter are all brought together, somebody just digs a hole and plants it all, and then the house grows right there. That's not right, is it?
No,
I remember you told me that shelters, like houses, have to be made.
that's right. People have to build a house. It all starts with a plan. An architect has to draw it. Then a person has to hire all the people who are needed to follow the plan and build the house. That's the builder. Sometimes that person is called a contractor. And then the work starts. Someone has to dig out a place for the house to be built. Then workers put in a foundation. It might be concrete. The house will rest on this after it hardens. Then carpenters use boards to put up the frame of the house. Roofers put on the roof. Electricians put in wires so there can be electricity in the house. Plumbers put in pipes so there can be water in the kitchen and bathroom and other places. Duct workers put in ducts for heating and air conditioning. Most shelters need some way of keeping people from getting or too cold. When everything is in its proper place inside, painters paint the insides and outsides of the house. Other people may have to do other kinds of work, but finally the house, or whatever kind of shelter it is finished.
Wow! That takes a lot of work.
Yes, it does. But after the house is built, it's ready for people to live in it. People come to look to see if it's the kind of place they would like to live in. Some people will buy their house or other kind of shelter. Some people will just rent it.
What's that?
They pay the people who own the shelter to let them live there. And then, when people decide a place is the place they want, they usually need other people to help them move in. And then, finally, people will try to make their shelter into a home that makes them all happy to live there.
It sure seems like a lot of work for people on Earth to have shelter. They need people to cut down trees and take them to lumber mills and process them in lumber mills and take the boards to where they can be bought and used. And they need other people to make all the other materials that are needed to build a house. And then they need all those different people doing all those different jobs to put all those parts together and build that house, for whatever kind of shelter they want to make.
Yes, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of people, but they have to do it on Earth. Shelter is a basic need, and I've brought you a sample.
A real house?
No, a real house was too big to fit in my ship. This is a house some of their pets use. It's a dog house, but it's just your size.
I like it. It gives me a nice place all for myself. I think I could get used to shelter.
It's our good friend, the alien that asked too many questions. That's, of course, Bill Walker Productions made this for Cornet, and Bill Walker Productions also made Wonder Cat, and he also made a series of films about science that features a lizard, I think, as well. So there you go. Question I ask, not the alien, but I ask is, where does it get you?
Agility, stamina, judgment. Agility, stamina, judgment. They are on our side. Every good player has these three. And every rooter, every student has the capacity for development of agility, stamina, and judgment. Here are our four friends, Herb, Betsy, Gene, and Bob, and agility, stamina, and judgment are their pals too, whether in sports, debating society, or on stage for that senior play. Yes, even with our homework, agility, stamina, and judgment are required. There is mental agility and stamina until the answer is found, and judgment to be applied to the solution of other problems. Judgment is to be acquired through experience. You are acquiring this self-pilot. Our bodies are constructed with a remarkable ability to perform. Consider our equipment. Levers for legs that can raise us, push us, stride in a governed length in countless repetition, stamina, and those other levers, the arms, can push, pull, rotate in any given arc, pick up, lay down, hold heavy weights for a long time. This is directed by the brain, whose chief function is judgment. Champions all, because they possess full coordination of mind and muscle. They have developed agility, stamina, judgment. These also are champions, champions in all walks of life. And no matter what life work you will enter, agility, stamina, judgment must continue, must increase after your school days are over. Our bodies are designed to throw off the invasion of alien bacteria, but one great hazard is self-chosen. It is the invasion of alcohol. A physical instructor knows.
All right, let's have a little quiet now. Jim, you handle the projector. Now, while I was in training as an athletic instructor, I had to learn something of human anatomy. Now, I want you all to watch these pictures. Nobody really knows what life itself is. But we do know when a body moves, it is alive. All movement is caused by the chemical energy of food. You could see this only through a microscope. There are millions of cells in our bodies. Each cell can give off energy. The cells work with each other, and they are organized into divisions of labor which make the divisions of the body. Now, for instance, here, the muscles are specialists to perform the many things we have seen. The heart is a specialist to circulate the blood in cooperation with the arteries and veins. The muscles are guided by the nervous system, which is centered in the brain. Each system is a group of organs marshaled for a task. Each is highly dependent on the other, like members of a team. The muscles need food, but they can't digest food. They get food from the digestive system. Everything we take in through our mouths must be digested or rejected. If not, this digestive system breaks down, and we are sick. Scientists have learned through experiments that alcohol is not a stimulant like coffee or tea. It's a depressant, a narcotic, an anesthetic like chloroform or ether. Concentrations of alcohol in the blood help create a false feeling of heat and activity and act directly on the nervous system. Next slide, please. If several teaspoonfuls of pure alcohol are taken, the healthy, normal stomach immediately ejects it. Taken in diluted form, as in alcoholic beverages, the digestive system goes to work to get rid of it from the stomach. Alcohol almost immediately goes into the bloodstream, which tries to rid itself of this invasion. A portion is exhaled through the lungs, some through the perspiration pores, some through oxidation of muscular activity. The blood carries alcohol to the brain, and the brain controls the nervous system. The nerves are like a highly complicated telephone system which govern all our actions. They relay all signals of the brain. They telephone our decisions and judgments from headquarters. If there are disturbances in headquarters, what happens? Lights on, please. The reaction is very much like going up in a plane. All right, Bob. Let's demonstrate it to them. If this pilot does not wear a respirator, what happens? Shortage of oxygen as the plane gains altitude does not at first affect the digestive system nor the muscles, but it does affect the nervous system. First, the high-functioning part of this pilot's brain has impaired his judgment. Still higher, less oxygen, less coordination of muscles. The nervous system can't direct them now. Still higher, he blanks out, loses consciousness. His awareness is temporarily gone. If the unguided plane still climbs, he can no longer breathe. He is out. All right, Bob, that's all. Scientists have proved that the effect of concentrations of alcohol in the blood have these similar effects. 1 part of alcohol to 1,000 parts of blood affects the brain with exhilaration, the same as produced by laughing gas. a temporary feeling of warmth. 2 parts, the judgment faculties are impaired. Distances cannot be judged. 3 parts, control over muscles slackens. 5 parts, the drinker is dead drunk. Over 5 parts, just dead. All right, Jim. As we have seen, invasion of a small portion of alcohol does produce a false sensation of warmth and exhilaration. If the body is cold, the blood has retreated from the outside surface to protect vital organs. Ask any Arctic explorer. Ask any man who has to fight the extreme cold. For him, alcohol could bring temporary heat, but leave him more chilled than before. His reserves of heat are used up. Lights, please. Ask any Red Cross worker whether alcohol is prescribed in their manual. In the Red Cross manual it says, never give alcohol for shock. It depresses and does not stimulate. When the judgment faculties are impaired, there is a delay in reaction time. All right, Herb, Bob, Harry, and George. Let's make this simple experiment in neuromuscular reaction. The reaction is passed around this circle. Number 1 here starts the impulse by clenching his neighbor's fist tighter. Number 2, he receives the impulse, passes it on to the next. Number 3, and so on. This takes time. Time for the impulse to travel. This is an experiment. What happens when one has a responsibility? Think it over. All right, boys, that's all.
Well, that's over.
Come on.
Come on, Herb, it's lunch period. Let's go out for a drive.
Okay, swell.
Well, driving a car is a heavy responsibility. You are permitted by your state authorities to drive your car because they consider you have the necessary agility, stamina, and judgment to handle it. It is fun to have speed under you, to go places quickly. To do this, you have developed 2 techniques of judgment: a driving skill, holding the car to your side of the road, and reaction with brake and accelerator. Good driving certainly means good judgment. You can't tell what the other fellow will do. Yes, reactions are the mechanism by which we survive. You must be capable of quick reaction. What happened here? This is the age of electronics, radar, and atomic energy, of machinery and speed, and this is a graveyard of this age, a graveyard with coffins. The reason for these demises, the slowing of the eye and the ear. The reason for this slowing, drinking, driving. It can happen to you if you make a wrong choice. Speaking of choice, we choose our own food. As free people, we have freedom of choice. It is strictly up to you what you put into your own mouth. We all go to school. We all are loyal to our own classes and our own crowd, but that doesn't prevent us from being individuals. Our great men said, temperance in all good things, self-discipline, ability to rule oneself. The wise men of Greece asked, why not use our equipment so that our life goals are achieved? Xenophon said, temperance means moderation in healthful indulgence, abstinence from things harmful.
Say, I got my new blue suit today.
For the prom, the junior prom tomorrow night?
Yes, sir.
Say, Jean. What? Has Bob asked you? Uh-uh. Why, I thought the last time you made a hit with him. Remember when we double dated?
Here they come.
Here they are.
Gee, you look swell.
Well, thank you.
Well, so does Betsy.
Thank you very much.
Let's go. Huh?
Yeah. Hey, you're not taking Jean this time. Why not?
Gee. The last time I took her, you remember what happened.
Oh, come on, you have hope of that, don't you? Oh, come on. We'll have a good time. We're gonna have a party.
Small party. Yeah.
Where's my date with all
I'm
the
glad
crowd? Oh,
Hey, who's the date? My date.
oh. Oh, here you are.
Uh-uh.
Bob. Bob.
Never again. One little bit too much, and that's how she acted. A fella has pride.
Jean was only imitating her older sister. Wanted to show off.
Yeah, maybe. Older people claim they should drink for two reasons. One, to be sociable,
And some older people claim that they should drink to relieve their troubled mind.
and look at us. Do we need any stimulants to make us sociable? When we have a good time, we want to know about it.
Seems to be right.
We have our own clothes, our own lingo, our own...
And your own refreshments.
Right. Right. All this talk about troubled minds. Why bring on trouble by drinking?
You don't want to be a bum sport.
How's that?
At a party, you can limit yourself to one drink. You can be a one-drink man.
All right, have it your way. Suppose you do take one drink. Just for a minute, suppose you do. What happens? Proud of yourself now? Suppose your parents find out you drink. They won't approve, will they? Careful. No, you mustn't let Dad know. He'll have a fit. Mother will watch you like a hawk. They'll suspect you from now on. They won't trust you. So, you think you're feeling fine. Just fine. Don't kid yourself. That tongue is like sandpaper. Milk? Sure, that's good for you.
Awfully good drink, milk. Do you know that our entire country spends 4 times as much for alcohol as it does for milk? And 3 times as much for drinks of alcohol as it does for the entire system of education, including colleges. What has that to do with you? Bring it down to cases. Can you afford it? Any way you look at it, can your family afford it in their budget and still send you to college? Drinks cost too much, entirely out of proportion to what you get. Yes, entirely too much money. Better think hard about it. You've got your future to consider. There's a lot ahead for you. What about your own environment and your own development for agility and stamina and judgment? Look, boys, no matter what profession you choose, you can't make good by using alcohol.
Yeah. Where does it get you?
It doesn't get you anywhere. If you want agility, stamina, and judgment, upon which your success depends.
Oh yeah. When I was in, I don't know, 8th grade, I would have totally said, yeah, yeah. In high school, maybe as well, but that changed in college. Oh, maybe I've updated the extension on this machine, this iMac, and so maybe I'll be able to stream from it with the scanner. We'll see. In the meantime, I'm hooked up with my newish laptop, and so here it is. We're gonna watch another film, Menu Planning and Preparation. This is a Centron film. It has a wonderful logo, spinning logo at the beginning. Enjoy.
So, you tried to make a dinner for some guests. The biscuits would have made great hockey pucks. The meat was cold. The noodles stuck together. And you did a Jack-in-the-Box imitation, jumping up and down to get all the things you forgot to put on the table. Well, it doesn't have to be so difficult. You don't need to be a professional chef. If you can eat, you can plan and prepare a meal and enjoy doing it. There are just some simple preliminaries to follow, sort of like a formula that you can apply to any meal. Now, the problem in all meal planning is basically the same. How to have all the dishes ready to serve at the correct temperatures at the same time. No matter how many people will be preparing the meal or how many people will be eating it, the basic strategy you will follow will be the same. Plan the menu and the time sequence of the preparation well in advance. Now, if you're experienced, you can do this mentally. Beginners need to put it down on paper. Okay, let's assume that we want to prepare a meal to serve 4.
Well, first, for nutritional reasons, you need to choose a menu that contains the 4 basic food groups. We've chosen a meal that has all 4, and it's not as difficult as it may look. Now, purely for aesthetic and appetite appeal, does the menu have variety and contrast of color, size, and shape of foods?
Sure looks like it.
Variety and contrast of texture?
Yes, the meat's chewy, the noodles are soft, and the salad's crisp.
How about variety of flavor and method of preparation?
Well, the noodles are bland, and tomato sauce is tart. And there are baked, boiled, and fresh foods. Okay, now that the menu is set, make a shopping list from it. Check each recipe and menu item against what you have on hand. Then purchase the amount of each food that you need for the number of people you'll be serving.
And unless you especially like grocery store music, you can save a great deal of time there by grouping similar items together. Dairy, produce, and meat, for example.
Next, decide what can be prepared the day before the meal is served. In this menu, the cake can be baked the day before, and the meatloaf can be combined and refrigerated the night before the meal. The salad greens should also be washed and stored in a bag for crisping in the refrigerator. Now, the final item that you need is a schedule for preparing the meal. This is the paperwork part. Make a list of each dish and how long it takes to prepare and cook. Okay, we have to put all of these items in sequence. Our goal is a 6 o'clock dinner. That goes at the end of the list. Second from the bottom is to set the food on the table at 5:58. Work backwards from serving time. Take one dish at a time and allow enough time to prepare it for serving. Now, the meatloaf takes the longest, so let's start with it. When should it finish cooking, and when should it start?
The recipe says to bake for 1 hour and let it rest for 15 minutes before serving. So it should go in at 4:45 and come out at 5:45. We'll have to allow 5 minutes prior to 4:45 to preheat the oven. So let's make our starting time 4:40. Now, within that hour and 20 minutes, we should be able to complete all the other preparations and cooking. Our finished time schedule will look like this.
When you have the menu, time schedule, and shopping out of the way, the only thing left is the actual meal preparation itself.
Bake and frost the cake the day before. Then keep it covered until you're ready to serve it. The salad greens should be washed, drained, and refrigerated in plastic bags that will keep them crisp.
Combine the meatloaf ingredients the night before the dinner. This recipe calls for hamburger, tomato juice, oatmeal, an egg, onion, and seasonings, which are mixed well together. The oatmeal acts as a binder for the other ingredients. Some people use breadcrumbs as a binder. They serve the same purpose.
Now I see why it's a good idea to check an egg before you add it to the other ingredients in a recipe. This egg's okay, but couldn't we do without the shell?
Oh, yeah. Then, store it in a glass container, tightly covered in plastic wrap.
The day of your meal, all you need to do is follow your time schedule. The first item on our schedule is to preheat the oven. In this case, 325 for a glass dish. Preheating takes 5 minutes, which leaves enough time to shape the meatloaf into its baking container.
Press firmly into the pan so it won't crumble or separate while baking. When the oven's preheated, set the timer and place the meatloaf in the oven.
Next on the schedule is setting the table. Plates 1 inch from the edge, fork on the left, knife on the right with the blade toward the plate, spoon to the right of the knife, and napkin folded left of the fork. The salad plate goes above the fork and the glass above the knife.
Time to prepare the salad. All these raw vegetables provide, among other things, roughage or fiber, which is an important part of your daily diet. You can cut, grate, or tear almost any vegetable you like into a tossed salad.
And of course, sprouts don't need any preparation except washing and draining. Now, just toss. You will usually have more than enough for one meal, so the rest can be refrigerated again in plastic bags for other meals. How are we doing on time?
Right on schedule. Next on our list is to prepare the tomato sauce for the meatloaf. Gathering everything you need for each recipe before you begin saves steps around the kitchen while you're preparing it. This sauce calls for equal amounts of flour and butter, melted and blended in a saucepan over medium heat. When flour is added directly to hot liquid, lumps form. In order to prevent this, the flour is mixed with the fat to form a paste. Then add the tomato juice and stir until thickened.
By the way, this is the same basic recipe as a white sauce. Equal amounts of flour and butter. We're just using tomato juice instead of milk.
I think it's thickened enough, so it's ready to pour over the meatloaf.
It helps to baste or drain this excess fat off. The tomato sauce keeps the meatloaf from drying out while cooking, as well as adding color and flavor.
The next item on our list is gathering the serving dishes and utensils. A platter and server for the meatloaf, dishes and spoons for the vegetables and noodles.
Basket and napkin for the rolls, and salad tongs. I can slice the cake now, too.
According to our schedule, we have 10 minutes to prepare the vegetables for cooking, the parsley butter for the noodles, and the crescent rolls for baking.
Okay, first I'll get things ready to cook vegetables. Use only 1/4 to 1/2 cup water as called for on the package directions. The reason for this is to preserve the nutrients in the vegetables, which are water soluble. With a tight-fitting lid, the vegetables will absorb nearly all the moisture while cooking. And fewer vitamins will be lost in excess water. Now, to make the parsley butter garnish, just pick some freshly cut parsley with a few tablespoons of butter or margarine. Add this to the noodles just before serving for a colorful garnish.
While you're doing that, I can prepare the rolls for baking. It's easy. Just take the wide end and roll it towards the narrow end. Place it point end down and shape. When you buy refrigerated rolls, check the expiration date on the package to be sure you will obtain the best results. Also, check the package for the oven temperature. It's time to start the noodles. Instead of preparing them according to the package directions in a large quantity of boiling water, I'll show you a way to cook pasta that conserves both heat and water. First, measure the noodles for the number of servings you need. With 4 people, 3 cups is a little under a cup per person. Use an equal measure of water to pasta. Add 1 teaspoon salt, cover, and bring to a boil. Noodles swell very little in cooking. About 2/3 cup is a normal serving. Okay, when the water's boiling, add the noodles, 1 tablespoon oil, stir, cover and let it boil for 2 minutes with the burner off. The oil absorbs the extra flour in the noodles, keeping the water from boiling over. The residual heat will continue to boil the noodles. When 2 minutes are up, remove the pan from the hot burner, stir, and let the noodles sit covered for 10 minutes to tenderize. After this time, nearly all of the water will have been absorbed. This method eliminates pouring off a large quantity of boiling water and risking a steam burn.
Time to put milk and salad on the table.
That's the meatloaf timer. I'll turn up the oven temperature for the rolls and take the meatloaf out to stand. The excess fat needs to be basted off. That smells really good.
It does. It looks good, too. You did a good job.
Oh, thanks.
Now for the vegetables. With the burner on high, bring the salted water to a boil. Add vegetables, and when it comes to a boil the second time, reduce heat to maintain a low boil or simmer. After a few minutes, break up the frozen chunks for more even cooking.
It's time to test the noodles for doneness. It cuts easily with a fork.
But this is the better test. They're done.
Time to drain them. Look how little moisture is left. And add the parsley butter.
I'll slice the meatloaf. And for the final touch, a little parsley.
That's for the vegetables. Test a lima bean for doneness because they take the longest to cook. It feels soft, but tender crisp, so they're ready.
There are the rolls. They look just right, golden brown. We're all done.
Shouldn't we serve it first? That looks great.
The time schedule may not always be perfectly accurate, but it provides a good outline to follow. And at least you don't have to rely on guesswork.
Well, with the meal planning and preparation out of the way, the only thing left to do is eat.
And if you'll excuse us, that meal looks too good to waste.
I heard that theme music and I was running across the archive to get to the scanner before it stopped. All right, so tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, I'll be able to get back to my older iMac which has the ability to tweak the colors a little bit, do some color correction on the fly. This laptop that I have is a newer laptop, but there's a whole thing with those plugins for color grade. It is the worst possible juggling act you have to do, as far as, oh well, this flavor works with this but not with this, and then this over here is I like Macs, but I also really hate Macs because of all this shenanigans stuff. But it's great seeing everybody today. So good. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. Those are things that will help us. Our ad revenue is down for some reason, but supposedly everybody's ad revenue is down, but I don't know. So we're putting more stuff online, so hopefully that will generate some more traffic, because that ad revenue will pay for storage units, of which we have 7. And so another way to support us, of course, is via the super thanks button, the ko-fi.com, the patreon.com/abgeeks. Those are ways to support us. But also, in lieu of that, maybe here's what you can do for us. Register to vote. Make sure that you're registered to vote, and vote. If you can early vote, do it. If you can bring a friend or two, it's more fun waiting in line with friends. So vote. Please vote. Vote. We have some horrible things happening in North Carolina right now because of one of the presidential candidates and because of some weird rumors. So I'm not going to illuminate on any of that. You can look it up. But anyways, please vote. Vote. And if you have some extra cash, donate it to Western North Carolina or to Florida. We saw the basic needs of shelter by that super question-y, inquisitive alien. Shelter is important, and a lot of people lost their shelter. So it's getting cold in the mountains, so please consider donating. Thanks so much. We will see you soon. I love you guys, and